Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be looking at Dark Ages textures versus the graphics pack. It's a viewer request. It was requested by both Scott Schultz and Noel Gordon, so thanks for the request there, guys. You can see my load order on the screen there, although there is a add-on SMIM just below it. And with that being said, let's jump straight in. So both of these mods weigh in at about 1.9 gig, and as you can see on screen here, I am using vivid landscapes, and I'm counting that as part of the graphics pack there. So as you can see, we got a big change over the dirt and the rocks. I actually think the dirt looks a lot better on Dark Ages than it does on Vivid Landscapes. I think Vivid Landscapes is a very murky mod and doesn't always look the nicest. But we're looking at the wood here, and it's not a bad texture on the graphics pack there. And I'd say it's about the same on Dark Ages as well. You'll notice there's a lot less trees on Dark Ages just because the graphics pack does have a add-on which adds more trees. Both of these mods do have their own custom versions of SMIM as well, so we may see some details change on the smaller items, not just the textures. We're going to see a change again on the dirt and road patterns, and we get a close-up of the rocks. So you can see the Dark Ages gone for a lot smoother texture on the rocks there. And I'd say probably slightly crisper texture on the roads as well. So this is what I was talking about with Vivid Landscapes looking quite murky. As you can see, that it's just a series of browns and greens all smashed together there. And Dark Ages gone for a much more vanilla looking dry grass texture. Might even be the vanilla texture, just with a higher quality to it. And again, we get a close-up of the stone there. Doesn't look too bad. Next up, we've got the Western Watchtower, just over the way from Whiterun, and it looks quite nice there with the graphics pack. Nice amount of detail. You can see we've got moss climbing up the side of the wall. As you can see, vastly different with Dark Ages, just as good looking, nice amount of detail again. First glimpse at the mountains in the background there. And here we have a closer look at the mountains. Again, Vivid Landscapes does a pretty good job with the detail and the quality of all the textures it uses. And Dark Ages there again, going for a vastly different style. Still looks good, nice amount of detail, although it does look a little artificial, like kind of painted on, if that makes sense to you. Get a close-up of the wood here in Riverwood, Riverrun. Again, graphics pack, very nice job, much better than the wood texture we've seen earlier on in the video. It's got that kind of worn, splintered, aged look to it. Gone for a more smoother looking texture with Dark Ages. Again, quite nice texture. I think I would prefer the graphics pack one. That's just personal preference though. I don't think one looks any better than the other detail wise. And we're just having a look at the textures on the banks of the river here. I am using Forests of the Bella in this video. And there we can see it's gone, Dark Ages gone for, again, a less cluttered, more closer to vanilla style texture. Here we're going to take a closer look at these dirt banks, I suppose you'd call them. You're also going to see the road texture change. And again, Dark Ages gone for a very different looking texture on those dirt banks there. I'm not a big fan of that one. Don't want to seem like I'm crapping all over the Dark Ages pack, because it is a good pack. But so far, I think, apart from the textures, which have been really murky and horrible, with vivid landscapes, which I guess this is another one on screen here. Yeah, that's not an amazing texture in itself. Again, it's always catch-22 with these landscape textures, because if you do try and get like photorealistic grass or flowers or something like that, you're always going to be pulled back by the fact that it is a flat 2D representation of what should be a 3D object. The snow here looks absolutely fantastic. I don't know if that's been recently updated, because I'm certain it doesn't usually look that good. And again, with Dark Ages, I'm gonna have to say I don't think it's as good. It just doesn't have that same effect as the previous one. Vivid landscapes looked very realistic, snow, especially with that sun bouncing off it, but that one didn't really do it for me so much. Here we are inside a cave, and again, graphics pack does a very nice job of the cave wall. There we go, Dark Ages gone for a smoother, slightly more polished look to it, like it's been weathered a bit more. It's good texture, I like it. Just a slightly different angle here, so we can get some of that floor in shot, so we can see how that changes. And again, a smoother, slightly more rounded off texture with the Dark Ages there, but it's a nice texture, doesn't look too bad. Got a great shot just outside a Dwemer ruin here. Again, can't fault graphics pack for its detail, looks very good. And again, Dark Ages with a more rounded stone texture, almost as if it's been blasted by wind and rain a lot more than the graphics pack version. On the inside, I will point out that there are actually two versions of the Draugr ruins. There's a fantasy dungeon and a standard. I went with the fantasy, and that's it there. Again, looks slightly more rounded and polished stone texture than the graphics pack version. I think the graphics pack textures for the Draugr ruins is very decisive amongst people, because it is very detailed texture. As you can see there, the amount of carvings on every inch of the walls is a very good effect, but it's also very busy, and I think some people do find it distracting. There's the Dark Ages version again. This is the fantasy dungeon version. Here we are just outside a Dwemer ruin. so we can get a good look at the stone for the ruins here. Nice amount of detail on the graphics pack as always, and the Dark Ages texture to me again just looks a little faker, if that makes sense, just a little tiny bit artificial, like with the mountain textures we looked at before. Here we've just got a different screen. You're going to see a lot change between these two screens, most notably all that rock texture, but you'll actually notice the decoration around the archway just at the top that disappears there, as you can see. We get new colours on almost everything, those brass fittings or bronze fittings, again the texture we've seen in the previous screens. So it's up to you really which one you think is better, but I think the graphics pack one was just a little nicer with the more ornate details around the archway and stuff like that. Here we are in Morthal, I believe. We're just going to get a closer look at these wood textures with some snow on them. That is where a lot of graphics packs fall down, is doing that snow on the wood. Snow looks much thicker with Dark Ages, looks quite nice. I think again it's probably down to your personal preference. I'd say the Dark Ages one looks just a bit cleaner, just because that snow does look a bit more vivid and the wood is a bit smoother. Here we are in Markarth. Again, almost every texture will change between these two screens, and it's just down to your personal preference which one you prefer. Dark Ages looking a bit cleaner there, not so many bricks to make up the building fronts and stuff like that, and a new flagstone texture for the road. And we'll just have a quick look at a few of the major cities to see how they change. Very nice looking Whiterun there from the graphics pack. And it looks like we get a complete retexture with Dark Ages as well. The road has got slightly smaller stones in it, all the wood and roofs have been redone on the buildings. Looks very nice. And now we're in Windhelm. Gonna see the stones on the tavern in the middle there change, as well as the buildings in the distance. As you can see, the snow texture on the floor there with Dark Ages doesn't hold up so well. And we're in Solitude, because Dark Ages does retexture Solitude, and I don't think the graphics pack does, so these will be vanilla textures, I guess. As you can see, slight change on the sand texture. And here you'll see it a bit closer. And as we're coming to the end of the video, just like to say thanks to everyone for watching, and thanks to Scott and Noel for suggesting the video, and I shall see you next time.